Hey legends, welcome along to Sceam Me Up Botty. I am your host, Rodney Stewart, and we're getting into Star Trek. Again, big shock and surprise. We're going episode by episode in this podcast. So, yes, if you come across this and you're a fan of Star Trek, you're very welcome. If you are just a science fiction fan that hasn't really delved into the series before, I appreciate you listening to it, but I would recommend you actually go and checking out the episodes yourself. I'm going to spoil the crap out of them on this podcast, I'm not going to lie. But if you want to enjoy the episode, spoiler free, go watch it, and then by all means come back and check out this series. When we do eventually get through all the Star Treks, which is going to take flipping years at this point, we will get into other things like Space 1999, Battlestar Galactica, UFO, you name it. If it's science fiction, we'll have a little chat about it at some point. So episode 29 of season 1 closes out the first series. The episode is titled Operation Annihilate, and very enjoyable episode this. Although the power of the city on the edge of forever, the previous episode, I think most of the fans of the series would have preferred that to be the final episode in series 1. As good as Operation Annihilate is, the City on the Edge of Forever is flipping fantastic. If they closed out the first series of that, the pullback for the series would have been immense for a second series. It is what it is. The plot of this episode is the Enterprise is tracking a path of mass insanity that has affected several planets across the system, causing the collapse of all civilizations on every planet. They approach Devona, a Federation colony where Captain Kirk's brother Sam has been stationed along with his wife Arellen, if I pronounced that right, and his son Peter. After entering the system, they try to stop a ship as it flies into the local sun. As pilot is raving mad, and at the last second he starts screaming, "He's free! They're gone, I'm free." The ship's destroyed in the sun, and the Enterprise, trying to follow what the tractor beam on, has to we've failed, he's dead, let's get away from the sun before we're destroyed. They get back to Devona's planet, the planet Deneva. I think I said that wrong. Devona, I said. Deneva. And they beam down to the main city. Kirk, Spock is down too. McCoy goes down with them, and a security detail is there as well. A group of men with clubs try to warn the landing party away and then attack them. Kirk has the men stunned with phasers, but McCoy finds that their brains are still being violently stimulated despite being unconscious. And they kind of, it's weird that these guys' actions didn't mirror what they were saying. These guys were coming up and trying to tell them, get away, it's not safe, sort of a thing, but then violently attack them. The party locates the Kirk family home. Sam is dead, and his wife acts irrationally before passing out, and Peter, the son, is comatose. There's something trying to attack them through a vent in the house that killed Kirk's brother. Kirk and McCoy return with the survivors to the Enterprise, where McCoy finds that they're all suffering from a condition similar to that of the attackers that they met on the planet. McCoy gives painkillers to the kid to keep him asleep, and Sam's wife to try and get them through whatever they're driven insane, essentially. Sam's wife wakes up, not even going to attempt to say her name again. She wakes up briefly to tell Kirk of horrible things spreading from planet to planet, using others' bodies to build ships before she eventually just dies there and then. The way this thing seems to work is it'll cause pain to keep the secret back, and as she was telling him exactly what was going on, the thing killed her. Kirk returns to the planet and joins Spock in a search for these creatures, and they find a number of single-celled creatures attached to walls and ceilings of one of the buildings. The creatures fly and attempt to attack Kirk and the others. The landing party finds they are immune to phaser fire. One creature attaches itself to Spock's back before Kirk can pry it off, and Spock falls in absolute agony. They transport him back to the Enterprise, and McCoy determines the creature has injected some of its tissue into Spock's spinal column. It has intertwined itself into his nervous system, and it's going to be impossible to remove surgically. Spock regains consciousness and escapes sickbay and deliberately attempts to take control of the ship, but McCoy sedates him just in time. Later, back in the sickbay, Spock apologises to Kirk and asserts that his mental discipline can control the pain. He doesn't need to be kept there. He has it under control. He's a Vulcan. It's what we do, sort of thing. But he does have to return to the surface to require a specimen to study. Kirk and McCoy, more so Kirk, agrees to it. McCoy's not so sure. But, Spock makes the argument that, I'm already affected. What's the worst that can happen if I get back down? So Kirk's like, you're 100% correct. The Vulcan logic wins out one more time. So off Spock goes, manages to get hold of his sample, stuns one, sticks it in a box, returns to the Enterprise. Spock and Kirk determine that the creature are part of a hive mind. Spock and McCoy run numerous tests, but fail to find a way to destroy the creature. Kirk holds a senior staff meeting, asserting they must find a solution before the creatures reach the next inhabited planet. It holds over 1 million people. A solution that does not kill the hosts. This is going to be damn near impossible, but he's like, this is what we're going to do here. We have to kill the creatures. We have to save the hosts. He doesn't want to be in the position of having to destroy an entire planet to stop this and its tracks and kill that many people. Kirk recalls the ship's pilot stating that it was free before the pilot and the ship at the beginning of the episode that was flying straight towards the sun. He recalls that the guy said that he was free from whatever this was before burning up in the sun, and suspects that the sun's properties may harm the creatures. He realizes that they've not tried using visible light as a means to defeat the creatures. The first test of blinding light results in the death of a specimen in sickbay. Spock then volunteers to be exposed to the intense light without eye protection. McCoy's like, put these over your eyes to protect yourself. And Spock and Kirk are like, the people on the planet aren't going to have eye protection. This is going to work. We're going to have to do it without it. So they jump in, carry out the test, and even though it's successful and Spock is freed from the parasites' control over him, he's rendered blind as a result. McCoy is devastated later on to find out that the initial results of the tests shows that only ultraviolet light was necessary to kill the creature, meaning that Spock need not have been blinded. So a lot of emotion in the final moments of this episode, where Spock is now blind, McCoy is fully blaming himself, and Kirk, being the captain of the Enterprise, is equally as guilty because everybody on the ship is, under his command. He's the guy that has to take responsibility for everything that happens, and even though he didn't flick the switch in the test, McCoy is holding all this guilt. Kirk is feeling just as guilty because he's the captain, even though he didn't flick the switch. In his mind, he's as responsible, if not more responsible, than McCoy. Closing out the episode, the Enterprise floods the colony with ultraviolet light from an array of satellites, killing all the creatures on the planet and purging the parasites from everybody there. Complete annihilation of these creatures. As the Enterprise prepares to leave orbit, Spock reveals that his Vulcan inner eyelids had prevented permanent blindness and that he can see again. So there's a little bit of a happy moment at the end of the episode where he's like, I can see, and these guys are all heartbroken and devastated over him. But at the same time now they're completely annoyed with Spock because he didn't. It's not that he didn't say that these inner eyelids were there, something, but it's an instinctual thing, for Vulcans, and something they don't really think about. McCoy's kind of like, you could have told us that this sort of thing was here, and he's like, well, we don't even think about it. It's like the way you guys just breathe without thinking about it. So nice little bit of comedy at the end of the episode to close out series 1. Great episode, fantastic. You get a lot of, it's always nice to get an episode where you see Spock getting a chance to get his deeper acting skills out there instead of being the cold, logical Vulcan that he's meant to be. But whenever you get some emotion for you in there, it's always good to see that in one of the episodes. So great series, absolutely love it, and I can't wait to do more of them for this podcast. Fan bloody tastic. And when Star Trek was Star Trek, there's a lot of stuff going on these days. The future of Star Trek right now is up in the air, fairly in question. I'm not going to delve too deeply into that. I had made the decision at the beginning of this podcast that I was going to do an episode about, would have been an episode of classic Star Trek, then an episode of new Star Trek, like Picard and all that sort of stuff. And I was doing that for a while, but I made the decision to just drop all new Star Trek. So if you've been on this podcast from the very beginning, you'll probably notice that I dropped off the new Star Trek series. It's not that I'm not going to do it, I just want to do it chronologically. Definitely not as strong as older Star Trek. And one thing that has jumped out to me is, and I haven't seen the series yet myself, but Star Trek Fleet Academy, as you call it, Starfleet Academy. Apparently there is a main character in that series that goes against everything that the race of characters were originally developed to be. So apparently, I was watching a TikTok one night of a guy explaining it, and it was one of the races of characters within the Star Trek universe that are essentially all male. They're a race that are like a bred race. Like they don't reproduce like humans or anything like that. There's no male and female in it. They're a bred race, and essentially they're all male. Now, this is delving into Star Trek Deep Space Nine was the origin of these characters, and in all fairness, that was a series that I only ever really bumped into once in a while, and I never watched DS9 from beginning to the end at this point, so I'm looking forward to getting to that at some stage. But according to him, all these people in this race of characters were all male, and then Starfleet Academy comes along and there's a female version of it, which can't be possible in the universe. That's the end episode explanation of it, but I've been reading a lot online recently about inner conflicts in Paramount Plus over new Star Trek. Apparently there's a lot of people within the cast and the crew kind of rebelling against where Paramount Plus is trying to take Star Trek now, and I think the battle cry of it was enough woke shit. So we'll see what happens. But I was jumping through new Star Trek, and it did point back to a few things within the earlier shows that I myself am not 100% littered, and let's just say, so I want to do it chronologically, do it properly, moving forward. So that's what the crack is with Sceam Me Up Botty. That's going to do it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please rate and review it, share it along, do all that good social media stuff. I will love you forever. And until the next episode, stay safe, and I will talk to you all then. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.